Hello, everyone. Can you let me know? Good evening. Hello. I thank you for joining, everyone. I'm just giving a little bit more time to see if more people can join us this evening. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll just give about 5 or so more minutes and then we would start. Thank you for joining this evening. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining. We'll just take a few minutes to let everyone tell us where they're joining from while we wait for others who are actually registering to rejoin. So, for some weird reasons, this event seem to be asking people to um, re-register to be able to join the webinar. If you can hear me, can you just drop where you're joining us from? I am joining from Wolverhampton in the UK. Please use the chat box and tell us where you are joining from today. Just a little bit more time and we would start and hope that others can join us as we move along. Thank you for joining this evening. Right, welcome everyone. I can see Samuel from Rochester, Oluwatobi from Birmingham, Olumide from Loughborough, Robert is joining from Kenya, Emmanuel is joining from Leicester, Akan is joining from Wolverhampton. Welcome everybody. Agnes is joining from Essex. Adewumi is joining from Willenhall. Oh, my neighbor. Hello, Adewumi. Additional is joining from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Yes, this would be recorded and can be shared at the end of the event. Welcome everyone who is joining. We will start at the dot of 6:10 p.m. Nice to meet every single one who is on the call. Olayinka is joining from Manchester. Welcome. Abisola is joining from Scotland. There is Prince from Hood. Welcome everybody. We have about a minute to go and we would start today's webinar series. Welcome everyone. If you're just joining us, please just tell us where you're joining from so we familiarize ourselves. Thank you for joining today. And we would start in about a minute or so. Yeah. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining today. If you joined us last week, you would remember there was something I said about the fact that before visas, before opportunities, comes positioning yourself. And today we are taking that conversation a little bit one more step further because positioning is just theory. What actually determines if doors will open to you globally is then what you're able to put together rather than just positioning yourself. Hello, everyone, and welcome back again this evening. I hope that you are as excited as I am for this particular section of the series. Last week, we talked about personal branding and positioning yourself right, and just how when you position yourself, you can literally change your own immigration journey. Today, we're going to be moving away from positioning and then talking about opportunity. Because once you manage to position yourself properly, then the next question that should be is which pathway can actually accelerate my journey in this country? Or if you're looking to come into the country, how can I get into the UK quicker, faster? Last week, I shared how, people who actually move faster on this immigration journey are not the most qualified. They are mostly people who are well positioned. And today we're going to show, I'm going to show you one of the biggest proof of that statement. Somebody who's come to speak to us today, whose skills, visibility, and his impact has been able to literally fast track his own settlement journey in the UK. And today we're going to be talking about everything and anything global talent, understanding the global talent visa. But before we even start, let me clearly state that this is one of the most understood or misunderstood, the most misunderstood pathway in the UK, visa pathway in the UK. Global talent, a lot of people know about it, but a lot of people don't necessarily know, the details of how this might affect their immigration journey. Many people just assume that, oh, this is not for me. I'm not as qualified. Even I myself, I'm very guilty of this. I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, okay, maybe it's for the tech bros. Maybe this was made for some special kind of people. So yeah, a lot of people assume that it's not for them. They're not qualified enough. Maybe it's for like top artists, the big fashion brands, the Ricky James and the rest of them. But this is not, for top academias or them celebrities, because the truth of the matter is that it's for a lot of people qualify than they actually realize. They're just not positioned properly. And right now, that there are conversations around 10 to 15 years until settlement, you cannot just afford to rely on a slow pathway anymore. This is a system where policies change every now and then. You just want to get on your pathway as quick as possible and know that that is done and dusted. So you need to know what options exist to you. How can you qualify, or do I even already qualify? And how can I like transition strategically so that I can be more informed and then save myself all of these groaning years that it can take to get to settlement. For those who are new here, who are probably not from my community, my name is Olunaike-Talabi. And in case you're seeing me for the first time, I'm an immigration advisor, I'm an international education consultant, I am a legal practitioner first before any of those, and I'm a British Council certified counselor. I am the founder and lead coach at Grow Mentoring Academy. Let's just say I'm your migration cheerleader. That's all I do. I help people who are looking to study abroad, move abroad, just transition abroad legally. And as I mentioned last week, I've worked with a lot of migrants who are navigating either study routes, career transitions, long-term settlement strategies, whether in the UK or outside of the UK. And I've seen this pattern again and again. People delay their progress not because there are no options, but just because some people don't know what options even exist to them. So people who know the options that exist to them are probably too afraid to take the leap. More people are, complacent. They're just very, you know, they're 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 afraid to take that big risk to be able to, find pathways that may be more suited to their circumstances. And that's why, have created the whole Escape the Visa Trap series, just to ensure that more people can be aware of the options that they have and be able to take the options as as it's applicable to them. And that's why today's section is very special, because I've brought somebody who is going to be speaking on global talent. But before we get to our guest speaker today, I wanted to say that the reason why this whole webinar came to play in the first place is because of all of these immigration changes happening in the UK. And we all know that by autumn, the settlement timelines are changing. It's going to extend to as large as 10 to 15 years. And you just want to make sure that you position yourself rightly before then. A lot of people are feeling stuck. A lot of people are not uncertain what to do. Some are just trying to see how they can reposition themselves in a more strategic way. And that's why the whole of this webinar has been put together. And it's going to last for the next 6 weeks. Last week was for personal branding, how to just position yourself skill-wise, how to put your career together to make sense. And then today is understanding all of global talent. Global talent is one of the opportunities from this series. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to move from just being a care worker to registered manager. There are people who are coming to speak to us who have done this under 2 years. So you don't have to be stuck. If you do enjoy the care work, again, no shades to people who are doing care. But if you enjoy it, why don't you place yourself in a more advantageous position? So yeah, moving from care worker to registered manager. And then for week 4, we're going to be talking about self-sponsorship. A lot of people have reached out to me who I have this business idea, who I'm already running this business. How can this sponsor me instead of then chasing, sponsorship licenses about employers who will sponsor? You can use your own business to actually self-sponsor yourself. And then we'll talk in week 5 about the Innovators Founder Visa. And for week 6, this will be for my audience who are still outside of the UK looking to find some form of scholarship, alternative funding for whether it's an MSc program or for PhD, just opportunities beyond the UK. And even people who are looking to move away from the UK to, for example, Canada or the US, opportunities that may be available to our community members. And just so you know, today the person who I've brought to us is going to be talking from a point of view of somebody who has been there, done that. It's their lived experience. And so I didn't just bring somebody who is going to come and start talking to us about theory. I could have done that myself. I wanted to bring somebody who understood the process, who has gone through the process, who has been successful with the process, who is a holder themselves. As a matter of fact, has now applied for his indefinite leave to remain application. So the person I brought today and our guest today, he is Olumide Odetunde. He's a current global talent visa holder himself. He's a professional who has successfully navigated this pathway. He's a vet doctor turned data scientist. He's a personal development coach. He's a career transition and employment coach. He's a global talent visa consultant. He understands this pathway. He's lived this pathway. He's walked this pathway. And so today you will be hearing far more than theory. You'll be hearing from real life strategies, lived experiences, how he put together a portfolio or a profile that earned him the global talent title. So as you listen to that, I want you to be able to ask yourself a few questions. Could this option actually be for me? What would I need to change to be able to qualify? What do I already have that can qualify me or can place me in the right, pedestal to be able to put together a portfolio that will work or pass for a global talent? Also, think deep. Am I actually underestimating myself? Some people have profiles that are worthy, but they've already downplayed themselves. So, as you listen to him, think about all the possibilities around your own circumstances that could actually make you stand, you know, with this opportunity, because for many of us, this might actually be an opportunity that we've just been overlooking. Our profile might already be ready, might already be where it needs to be, but we've just overlooked it, or we've just, thought this like a big deal that cannot, you know, be achievable for you. So be open-minded while you listen to him this evening. And so without talking too much and taking too much of our time this evening, let's dive into actually understanding global talent visa. And as our speaker speaks, if there are any questions you have, you can drop them in the chat box. If you want to be able to speak after his section, that's also okay. You can unmute yourself and speak. But it's important that you actually use this opportunity because, again, as I said, it's a consultant on global talent. So if there are questions, burning questions you had that you already know you have about global talent, it can even relate to your own circumstances. You can stimulate your own, circumstance and ask them questions. Okay, this is what I do. This is how I do it. Do you think this suits, or do you think this will suit? These are like questions I'm hoping you would ask as, at the end of his section. I will just stop for a little while and move things over to our guest speaker. Olumide, over to you.
Thank you very much, Barrister Dr. Oluwadara. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me know if you can hear me. Thumbs up will be fine. We don't need to unmute ourselves. Okay, cool. So I will share my screen now. Right. So, you can see my screen hopefully by now.
We can see your screen.
Oh, all right then. So, thank you for putting together this series of webinar that would help people, migrants in the UK, escape the visa trap. I particularly like the name. And like Barrister said, I will be walking us through how to land the global talent endorsement. What I plan to do today is to journey through how I have walked this path myself. And also I will be showing you a few other candidate clients I've actually worked with also that have also landed the global talent endorsement. I would give, for those that do not already know too much about the global talent, I will give a broad introduction as to why you want to consider this visa. I will then zoom into the three broad areas, and all the information I'll be sharing today, majority of them as pertaining global talent, you can find on the internet. If you just go to gov.uk or you Google global talent, you will actually find all this information here. What the perspective I'll be bringing is, how can I apply this to myself? What do I need to do? How do I need to take action? What do I already have that I may be overlooking? Or how do I put together what I have to position me? Thank God the first week one was about positioning yourself. How do I position myself? How do I put together all that I have to begin to explore this path? So I will begin by saying I walked this path myself, and I applied for my global talent endorsement in November 2022. And by the last week of November 2022, I had the visa in hand. The entire process for me took 12 days. and I used an unpopular route. I think that's another thing that I would immediately jump the gun and say. Majority of the time, the mistake I find people making is following what's popular and not critically evaluating what do I have, what's my profile, and how can I position myself, given all of this information about global talent, how can I position myself to land these endorsements? I don't need to follow what's popular as long as if it's not the right thing for me. If it's the right thing for me and it's a very great fit, then it's something that would be a no-brainer to follow. I would go again and explain why should you actually listen to me, because time is precious and it's why am I even here? I've put together 3 slides. From my far left is my endorsement letter, which I got from UK Research and Innovation, dated 14 November 2022. In the middle is the notification I received for a successful global talent application. And again, this information I've also documented online for free, how I got the global talent of visa with a job offer. If you Google that, my article should be the first that actually pops up. And I've put this here just to, again, reinforce the fact that I've been through this process myself. And while it's not easy, it's very possible. Again, still asking the question, why should you listen to me? I've put together 4 clients that I have worked with. I've worked with over 10 clients that have been able to land this. Which should I begin with? On my right is the most recent client. If you go on LinkedIn and you look for my profile, you should be able to find this particular notification there. This particular client got the Global Talent endorsement 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and that's the application there. The 2 in the middle were both got their Global Talent visa in 2024. And the one on the far left the lady actually got a global talent visa in 2023. She should be close to applying for indefinite leave to remain. I've put this here to achieve 2 things. One, people are actually getting the global talent endorsement. And the truth is they don't have 2 heads. And most of us are actually regular people, regular human beings. I think the difference is clarity, understanding what do I have? Where am I at in this journey? And then understanding the different routes available to get the global talent endorsement. And then you want to map where you are to where you want to be. What I find people doing, like I was explaining earlier, is, this is the popular route. Everybody goes that route, but their profile do not necessarily match that route. Or people even start looking at this endorsement quite late. And that's something I'll be delving in as we go. So I've been there. There's a proven track record, and I've actually published this playbook, and I've worked with several clients. I've turned this into a repeatable system that works as long as you are able to put together, this is what I have, this is what I've done in the last X years, this is what I am working towards. Then you begin to identify what's the gap. How do I get to the point where I put in the endorsement application and I stand the highest possible chance of landing this endorsement? And once the endorsement is in, the visa, in almost all cases, is also settled. So, why the Global Talent Visa? As has been said earlier, autumn 2026, we don't know what's going to happen, but what we know in the news, or we do know what's going to happen, it's possible that the pathway would move from 5 years, if you're on a skilled worker visa, to 10 to 15 years. And the Global Talent Visa gives you at the very least, these 4 advantages. One, if you're working a 9 to 5, you can change your jobs freely. You are not being sponsored by an employer. That's one. Number 2 is it gives you, the way I always like to put this, it gives you the highest level of flexibility you can get. On the Global Talent Visa, what you do not have access to is public fund. at least reading from the letter I got. But you can freelance, you can consult, you can run a business. It opens up the opportunities for you. So it's even beyond the visa. It gives you that pathway for you to be able to fully explore those things you want to explore. The third bit is this is actually a fast track to ILR. If ILR is going from 10 to 15 years, then, and this is given the option of 3 to 5 years, then that's a fraction of what the baseline is going to be. Also, your dependents are included without complications, basically. So I will zoom into the three broad fields or three broad ways you can get the global talent visa. Like I said earlier, this information is publicly available. The client that I was talking about last week, he went through arts and culture and got his endorsement. And arts and culture basically caters to people in arts, architecture, theater, film, fashion design. If you fall within this category, it is possible for you to also put together your profile, put together your evidence to showcase that, look, in the last 5 years or in the last 10 years, this is what I have done. I've been able to, maybe as a fashion designer, put together this catalog. I've been able to attend this fashion show. I've been able to sell this catalog. I've been able to, all what you have done needs to be properly documented. And in this particular route also, there's a lot of evidence in thought leadership. What are you doing within your industry? Who are you helping? What impact are you making, even outside of your regular business or your regular job? And the endorsing body for this is primarily the Art Council of England. I'll move over to the other way, research and academia. And this caters to other disciplines, people in science, medicine, engineering, and humanities. I want to spend just a bit more time explaining to people because this is where the confusion comes in. If you are coming via this route, it is possible for you to explore, broadly speaking, 4 ways to get the endorsement. The first one is if you, for example, get an academic offer, a research job offer that meets certain criteria, you may already be eligible for the Global Talent Visa, even just by getting that job offer. Again, like I said, there are criteria that job offer has to meet. So in fact, if you're already in research or you're in academia, that's one way. But I'll jump the other one because it's individual fellowship. Very few people that I know and within our community may or may not fall within this group. But if you have an academic fellowship, you may also be eligible for the endorsement. The third one is actually the route I went through personally. And I like to explain it as there are certain kinds of grant projects that is funded by certain funders, certain funding bodies. If you get a job on those kind of research projects, and that grant research project meets certain criteria, for example, one of the criteria is the grant project is funded for up to £30,000, or and you will be working on that grant project, and that grant project is going to last more than 12 months. Then, if you get a job on that particular project, again, similar to the first, you already qualify for the Global Talent endorsement. This is even without putting together any evidence yet. And now we can begin to see that there are a number of endorsement routes that are available for you to land the Global Talent endorsement. What most people don't know is what I've just explained. And even though it's open knowledge, and it should be common knowledge, people have not literally gone into it and to be able to see what are the options here. And I think I'll tie it back a bit. Majority of the people within our community would have at least a BSc or a postgraduate degree. Once you already begin to have these two things, then it's only a matter of time before you can analyze where you are and begin to position yourself based off your strength. The fourth route Endorsement route here is peer review route. This is for people with a research portfolio. Maybe you're a PhD candidate, you're a PhD student, you're already having publications, you're already building up your research portfolio. You're in the UK. There's also a clear path for you there. I'll move on to the last bit, the last one, which is digital technology. Digital technology is quite popular, and in this particular route, you just need to be working within the digital technology, particularly for a product-led company, a company that sells a product. And you don't necessarily need to be technical. You don't need to be a developer, an engineer, a data scientist, cybersecurity analyst. You could be on the business side of a product-led company. Of course, if I'm selling a product, even if developers, engineers, and all these technical people build it, who's going to sell it? Who's going to advertise it? So those people, as long as you work within that sector also, and you can demonstrate your impact. And again, for digital technology, this is where it gets very interesting. And this is where positioning becomes very important. Having a clear plan becomes very important. Not just doing things because it's popular becomes very important, because what you want to begin to do there is you will typically want to demonstrate or put together your evidence across 3 possible criteria. There's the mandatory criteria and 2 optional criteria. For the mandatory criteria, and I think even OC2, optional criteria 2, there's a lot of positioning and evidencing that you're a thought leader. You are mentoring people. You are making impact outside of your 9 to 5 if you have a job. This is where putting together that personal brand, having a system and a structure to actually demonstrate that you, outside of your job, you are still giving back to the sector or to the industry that you are working within. So this is where it becomes even much more important. If I put it all together, we've got arts and culture, research and academia, and digital technology. And for each and every one of these, there are nuances on how to land endorsements within it. So the question for you then becomes, which of these possible routes is the best for me? And that's where confusion typically starts for most people. I would emphasize again 2 routes that I believe is almost immediately available to people, but we often overlook. And again, I will repeat it. If you have a postgraduate degree, you want to look into this. You definitely want to look into this. If you have a postgraduate degree, endorse from that route. So you have a postgraduate degree in any of these, science, engineering, all you need for this particular route is a job offer. You can be endorsed in as little as 14 days, because even this route is a fast-track route for endorsement. For example, when I put in my own application, I got my endorsement within 9 days. It took 9 days, I got the endorsement. I put in my visa application and I got the response 2 hours later. So that's one route. The other route is if you're already someone that is already in the research space, for example, this is also another route. And this is not taken away from the fact that there's already digital technology, which I believe is popular already. People already know it. But majority of the mistakes I see with clients I work with is they are not aligned. They don't even know where they are when it comes to digital technology technician. They don't know, where am I? What do I have? How do I present it? What are the gaps? And how do I fill the gaps within a particular timeline? So I'll talk a bit again about this, just to break it down a bit more. This process requires job application. Once you land the job, during onboarding, when you're trying to onboard into the organization to start work, you'll be given 3 documents, just 3 documents: a statement of guarantee, a grant award letter, and your job description, which you already have, by the way. And with this, you would apply for your endorsement. Once you get your endorsement within 14 days, then you'll be able to apply for the visa. I always get asked, what's the cost? What's the cost of Global Talent Visa if I want to apply for the endorsement? Well, the endorsement fee alone is £561. When you get the endorsement, then you would apply for the visa. The visa is £205. As of today, I'm not sure about tomorrow, because I understand that certain changes may take place from tonight. But as of today, now that this webinar is going on, the endorsement fee is £561. The visa fee is £205. And depending on the number of years you want on your visa, so for Global Talent Visa, you can get a visa from 1 to 5 years. So if you are going for a 3-year visa, for example, it means you're going to pay your health surcharge, your IHS surcharge for 3 years, which I believe is £1,024, something like that. If you multiply by that by 3, and you add your endorsement fee, and you add your visa application fee, that will bring a 3-year Global Talent main applicant visa cost to £3,838. If you are going for 5 years, then you're paying much more in health surcharge, and that's £5,886. Hopefully, this slide answers how do I work the endorse funder route and what's the cost. Again, the cost is as at now that we are speaking. It's possible for us to wake up tomorrow and the numbers have jumped up or down. Though I know down is not possible. Cool. So, as I begin to bring this to a close, I want to talk a bit about, and I've mentioned it while going through all this, like the mistakes that people make. The primary mistake I see, I have worked with loads and loads of people. The primary mistake I see that people make is choosing the wrong route for their profile. They don't even know what they have. They do not understand what they have. So they do not know that what you've done, by background, I mean what you've done in recent years, what have you been doing? And there are certain things that you are doing that you may be overlooking, that you need to speak to somebody to be able to tell you, actually, what you're doing is really, really, really important. And there's a way we can structure it. I'll give an example. If you are mentoring people and you are doing it in an unstructured way, you have a group of people that within your industry you are meeting and you are showing them the way forward within the industry, but there is no structure to it. That is actually a very good piece of evidence you can actually use. But because you do not understand how to structure that and how to put that together and how to demonstrate the impact that would have on the industry that you are mentoring these people in, you don't know that's actually an evidence. The second mistake I see people make is they start late. They start very late. And this comes like you come on a student visa. Student visa will give you what? How many months? 16 months thereabouts on the average. And you think you have time. Or you get on the graduate visa, which now I don't know if it has been reduced to 18 months. You think you have time. And again, while you are starting late, you still don't understand what your gaps are. So you've not even analyzed yourself. You don't even know, okay, for me to be able to work towards this endorsement, I need to, over the next 6 months, begin to intentionally structure these pieces of evidence I have together, so that I can come to a shape and a form that I can confidently apply for that endorsement. So they start late and they don't even realize the gaps that they have. And then the third thing is, it's okay for you to do it yourself, but one of the costs of it is, are you willing to be able to burn thousands of pounds? So what you want to do is you want to stand on the shoulders of those that have been able to apply and take that as a baseline, improve on it, take that as your starting point, understand what your starting point should be, and you want to iterate. That will help you make lesser mistakes, and that will save you thousands of pounds. Again, I'm going to say this can be you. This can be you within a few months. As long as, one, you're starting early, two, you really know what your profile is, you identify your gaps, if there are any, and then you begin to work towards how do I put together all that I have achieved. So I'm getting to the point where, how do I start? How do you start? So we start with a consultation. I've worked with a cohort of candidates from January up until this point, and I'm taking cohort 2, which will be the final cohort for the year. And there are 15 slots that are available there. One slot is gone already. And it always begins with a consultation. And in that consultation process, what you have in this consultation process is you speak to a consultant. And we've got several consultants. Myself and I work in collaboration with a few more consultants that, again, specific to the different routes. And what we try to do in that consultation session is we try to identify what's your profile and what's the suitable endorsement route for you. Then we do a thorough review and analysis of your strength, your gap, and we put forward your chances of landing the endorsement. Again, this always comes with a timeline, typically. Now, once we look at the chances and you're a great fit and you can work within a timeline, then we put out an action plan. But for this consultation session, again, it's a one-to-one. You have your suitable endorsement routes. It will be identified. You have a thorough review of your strengths, your gaps, and your chances of landing the endorsement. And this is £500, non-refundable. Once the moment we already identify your route and we know the path forward and your chances, and we decide to proceed with you, then a full service charge will be charged to you, and this £500 will be deducted from it. However, if you come and we review it and you do not stand a chance and it's not clear, this £500 is non-refundable. On the right side of my screen is the payment link, and within the chat also, for those that will be interested in joining this cohort, within the chat there would be a WhatsApp group that will be put in the chat. And I should say that typically we charge £1,000 for a consultation session, but working with Barista on this one, we've decided that for those that would be basically making the payment before 11:59 p.m. today, is this £500 basically. So this £500 is actually till 11:59 p.m. today. I'm going to leave this on the screen because I can't see the chats. I'm going to leave this on the screen and see if there are any questions immediately. Yes, there is one. Okay, so thank you for this opportunity. As a care worker, please feel free if you have any questions to unmute your mic or ask away.
Okay, thank you. Can I proceed?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Thank you so much for this session. It was actually a very good eye-opener, and I can't thank you.
Oluwatobi, sorry, could you?
Hello?
Yeah, could you? Yeah, can you hear Oluwatobi? Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Right. Okay. Anyone else who wants to unmute themselves to talk, is it okay if you just raise your hand so that we can call people and then we can hear each other? Oluwatobi, you can go on now.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the session. Like I said, it was a very great eye-opener. Okay, so I'm particularly interested in the research. For myself, I'll be very I'll just say how it is. I'm almost getting a research job. I'm currently on a job, but it's not purely research. I'm looking towards a research job, and also looking towards a funded PhD. So my question is, if I get a fully funded PhD for 3 years or 4 years, does that count as you did say something about is it UKRI? Does it count as a research grant approved by UKRI?
Thank you very much for that question, Oluwatobi. Is that the only question you have before I proceed?
Yes, that's all. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's a good question. And the short answer is no. So for PhD, and this is, by the way, Barista's bread and butter. For PhD, you'll be on a student visa. However, for PhD candidates or PhD students, you have 3 to 4 years on the student visa to strategize. One of the advice I can immediately give, and this is value-based advice, is once you get that, you can begin to work towards putting together a portfolio. That would be the path. If I were you, I would explore, and I would focus on. As a PhD candidate, you're going to be doing research, and you're going to be contributing to a body of knowledge in a particular field. So while you're doing that, by the 24th month, you would want to work towards contributing, and this is peer-reviewed publications. You would want to work towards publishing paper, contributing knowledge. That's the better way I'd like to put it. And you also want to work towards positioning yourself. And these can be things as small as research assistants or even mentoring people in different ways and form. By the time you're 2 years into it, you should have been able to put together a profile that you can apply via the peer review route to actually get a global talent endorsement. So that would be the path, if I were you, that I would follow if I get a fully funded PhD. For the second scenario that you did give, which is you're trying to get a research-based role or a research job or offer, if I got that correctly. For that, it would be worth understanding what the role entails, because for that, what you need is the job needs to meet certain kinds of criteria. The moment it meets those criteria, and it's in black and white, then you can immediately apply to the relevant endorsing body to actually get the global talent visa. Oluwatobi, does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah. So somebody
Yep.
says, how does machine operator fit into this? Like a machine operator in the telecommunication industry, how does they or what they do or the skill they have now, how do you think that this ties into global talent?
That's a very good question. Thank you for putting that out there. So I don't know what a machine operator does in telecommunications industry, because machine operator, I take it immediately that it's a generic term and it will mean you're doing different things. But then again, I would immediately in my head class it as some sort of engineering that you are immediately doing. And if that happens to be your discipline, I know that there is an endorsing body that you can actually apply to. But again, like I've said during the presentation, we need to know what your full profile is. And without knowing your full profile, in fact, let me take a step further and say, once people join the cohort, for example, what we do is we typically send a pre-assessment form. This pre-assessment form basically helps us get all the level of information we need to be able to identify your specific route. So I'm afraid that machine operator, I know that will fall within engineering, and I know that there will be possible pathways for you, but without knowing what your full profile is, it's difficult for me to tell you exactly how you can get endorsed. But like I said again, soon as we know your profile, it's always clear for us to know.
So additional
that helps.
If he wants to, talk, and I would say you can unmute yourself to maybe give a bit of clarity since you don't want to talk.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I don't know if you can hear me. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, machine operator in this sense that, the SIM card itself, the SIM that we use in this telecommunication, it's produced by some engineers, whereby in the space by they put the SIM on the card body, person it, punch it, and deliver it to the client before it starts working as a complete SIM card. So I've been doing that for like 8 years now. I was doing that in Nigeria for quite like 4 years before I moved to another company here in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. So that's why I just said, let me ask you that question. If a machine operator in the telecommunication industry fits into the global talent industry. Thank you.
Thank you for giving that clarity, additional. I would be upfront honest. Again, you've given more context into what a machine operator does, and I understand that. I wouldn't say yes or no. I would say I would want to understand in the last 8 years, what have you contributed as a machine operator within your field? What have you done outside of your 9 to 5? Those are the things I would want to know, and that's already that would already be shifting us into the world of consultation. But I would say immediately, yeah, what you are doing sounds very impactful to me. But I still again do not understand how much impact you've had within the engineering space. So it's difficult for me to give a yes or no answer to this. However, you are encouraged to join the WhatsApp group, and we can take it from there. I guess I wouldn't want to say yes or a no immediately, without getting full details. While you've explained what it does, I would say it's good for you to explore it further. And once I'm able to get all the level of information that you've done, some questions that I'll be asking is the remuneration. These are things that we take into consideration. Further questions I'll be asking is, okay, so outside of your 9 to 5, outside of the work you're doing, what have you done? Have you done any sort of thought leadership? Have you gone to a conference? Have you been able to give us a different perspective to operating machine in telecommunications? All of those things are the things that we'll be putting together to be able to ascertain fully how we want to position this. So it's not ruled out that it can be explored. Again, I also can't give a yes or no answer. So I don't know if that gives more perspective. I understand that may not exactly answer your question, but that will be the best possible way I can actually help you move this forward.
So I think I just wanted to add a little bit to what Lumide said around the fact that global talent and profiling yourself for the right, I'll say route or the right endorser for your whole application is much more than just saying, oh, this is the field that I'm in, or this is what I do, or it's more about how can you think about yourself and your career and all that you've done in the last, I would say, 2 to 5 years and be able to build evidence again, because all of this is building evidence. When you submit an endorsement application, you are submitting evidences to show that you are a talent in whatever field that you see. Because that's like the layman way to explain this. So that I'm just trying to break it a little bit down because I know Lumide has been speaking from a technical point of view for a while. But in a layman way to explain this as a layman that I am myself, to get endorsed as a global talent, you need to be able to prove, show evidences, live evidences of how you are exceptional or how you are a talent. And it's not just about saying I am a operator somewhere or I am working within this sector. It's about how does all of those things that you say you do, how does it show that you have contributed in one way or the other to that sector? So, and I would also say that sometimes you yourself may not be able to identify some of these things in yourself because maybe you've underestimated yourself or you've undermined some of your skills, some of your contributions until you speak to experts, people who can read in between the lines of some of the things you've achieved, or who can say, oh, okay, you say you have that can work for this, or that can suit into this evidence, That's why sometimes speaking to experts on this is very, very important before you can actually know whether you can move forward or not. Right. Olumide, somebody says, thank you for this opportunity. As a care worker, do you think how can this, link to global talent? They do not have any tech experience at all in the UK. Is there any way they can position themselves to take advantage of the global talent?
Yes, there are several ways that you can position yourself for the global talent. Again, I think one myth that I would want to move away from is thinking that global talent is for people that are in the tech space. I don't think that's accurate. That's not accurate. While I am in the tech space myself, I gave an example of someone that is an entertainer. Is an entertainer that just got the global talent visa, and that is not within the tech space. So I think that's the first thing for me to say there. It's not for people within the tech space, and that's one thing. If there is nothing you take out of this webinar today, take that out. That is not for people within technology, digital technology field alone. I appreciate that that's what's popular, but that's not accurate.
Right.
So, and then to answer your question, yes, there are ways you can position yourself as someone within the healthcare sector. To start with, I know there's an endorsing body for life sciences for people within there. Then I'm going to begin to ask questions. These are the questions that I will begin to ask. What's your highest level of education? What did you study? Because you just told me what you do, but I don't know what you studied. I don't know what you've achieved as you have studied. I don't know your journey so far. I don't know what you're doing outside of your healthcare work that may count as some evidence that would help us align you to a particular endorsing body, which is the entire point of this whole webinar. The entire point is being a talent is beyond this is what I do on my 9 to 5. In fact, one of the endorsing body puts it strongly that there are categories for things that you do outside of your 9 to 5. If that makes sense, there is a category for things that you do outside of your 9 to 5. So if you are in the healthcare sector, of course you will have studied something. Of course you will have done some sort of mentorship. Of course you will have impacted your industry in some way, shape, or form that you yourself are not even aware of. So it is until we understand those that we can then begin to see that as this particular person with this particular profile, though they work within the healthcare sector, what profile is the best for them? What gaps do they have? And how can we help them fill those gaps? I think that's not going to be the same answer I'm going to give. So it is possible for you to position yourself for a global talent endorsement. But which endorsing body? I don't know. Which, because I do not, again, know enough to be able to give a solid answer. But again, I would encourage you to join the cohort and join the WhatsApp group. Very, very important. It's very important that you join the cohort and you join the WhatsApp group. Because again, for this cohort, this is the last cohort for the year. The next cohort will be coming in January 2027. And I know that the immigration changes is going to be in autumn 2026, which is this year. So it's important for you to begin to find out what's my entire profile and what are the gaps and how do I get there. I hope that helps.
Right. Just a few more questions. Somebody says they are in tech, so I mean they're data science to be precise, or they're data scientists to be precise. Does sharing content on LinkedIn related to their field count as useful contribution to the field? They're data science. They want to know whether sharing content on LinkedIn related to data counts as useful contribution to the field.
Is that Samuel Bassi? Is that a question from Samuel? Am I reading?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hi Samuel. I would say the answer is yes, but how strong is that evidence is debatable. You are contributing to the field of data by publishing, by sharing content. I would go one step further to say how many people are viewing your post, how many people are viewing your post, how can you track the impact that has had? If there's a way for you to demonstrate that there is a particular criteria where you can actually slot that in. Again, I would go one step further and say I would not make that my first evidence in that particular criteria. But it does count. It does count. And there's a way we can frame together that evidence alongside all the other pieces of evidence you have to make it put your best foot forward. So the short answer to that is yes. But how we present it and how we frame it is equally important.
Right. I have two other questions I'm going to kind of link together. So someone says they are so a study abroad, or they're in the study abroad industry, so they are international education specialists. Is there any pathway available to them? Someone also says they are in the hospitality sector. Yeah. So hospitality sector on one side, international education on the other. Is there any way these people can position themselves for global talent?
So this is where I'm going to draw from my arsenal as a career transition coach. So myself, I'm a veterinary surgeon. I trained at the University of Ibadan, and I practiced for 2 years before transitioning my career. And the reason why I give that background is there are two ways to it. I will go to my first answer. My first answer is you have just told me what you do, but I still do not have your full profile. I still don't know if, as an international education specialist, I don't know what your degree is. I don't know the impact you've had. I don't know what you've gotten previously. I don't even know what your previous work experience looks like. And all of these things fit into how we actually classify you. But on top of that, let's just assume for the sake of argument that you actually need, we actually want to position you differently to what you currently do. Again, it's possible, because for me, I was able to transition from being a vet to being a data scientist in 12 months.
So if I hear you correctly, are you saying that timelines are very important when you're trying to transition?
Correct. So you want to quickly know, because again, another outcome from this consultation could be, look, we've assessed your profile, and that's the honest truth. We've assessed your profile, and currently what you have, you do not immediately qualify. However, within the next 6 to 9 months or 12 months, we can help you transition and position you to land an endorsement, put you in the best possible position to land an endorsement via this route within the next 9 to 12 months. And we work towards it, and an action plan will be created. That's also another outcome, which is not, in fact, for me, is valuable, because you know exactly what you need to do if what you currently have is not sufficient.
Yeah. So even if you are on a path right now that doesn't seem like it, what Olumide is trying to say is that you can position yourself, you can reposition yourself, you can upskill, you can transition. He himself transitioned from being a vet doctor to a data scientist, and now he's a talent, visa talent holder. So it's just what it is. Positioning is key. Timelines are also important, depending on how long you have to achieve this. It's not a get get visa quick kind of scheme here. You have to be able to and that's why we started off with personal branding, positioning yourself right. So yes, even though you are in the hospitality sector now, you are a care worker now, you are in the international education business space, you have enough time to be able to position yourself right and get what you want to achieve from all of this. As I said, if you do join the court, it's not just about analyzing your whole profile, which I think is the most significant part of joining the court, because then you're speaking to a consultant who can say, okay, based on all these your circumstances, we cannot probably start dissecting everyone's, over 8-9 years of experience on this call. But when you meet these people, they will listen to you. Of course, you will have even filled an assessment form that kinds of gives, like, I would say, a resume, a background of all that you are made of. They will assess all of it and tell you, oh, you are good to go, or you are not good to go, or you still have a long way to go. This is the action plan to get you where you need to get to be able to, be a valuable person that has enough to get this application as a success. I just wanted to quickly ask a few questions before I go back to the chat. So assuming someone is looking to start today towards this pathway, maybe they are not even on any routes that can lead to global talent. Again, you've said this before anyway, but I just wanted you to reiterate. If I want to start today, I don't have anything that seems like I can get me onto the space to be able to get my application approved or my endorsement approved. What would be the first practical step you would say they should take?
Without appearing like I'm saying, I'll say join the court. That's the first thing I'll say. That's the first action you can take. You need to join. You need to speak to. So again, part of my introduction, Doc, I don't know if we missed this. So Tato, this service is delivered as via Tato, and one of the things we do in this is we are always upfront and honest about what you currently have is not sufficient. We have a few people in cohort 1 that we are working with already on this pathway. They do not have anything. We've assessed it, and we're like, look, we would not advise you to burn your money. So what we can do for you is we can draft out an action plan for you within 9 months. Given your background, what you studied, what you have exposure to, we would do a thorough, after the consultation, we'll do a thorough research and break it down into you month on month, quarter by quarter. Again, we're going to attach an accountability partner to you with this. That will walk you through this process such that by the time you get to that end point of that action plan, you are positioned already to be able to put your best foot forward when you are applying for that endorsement. So the first step that you can take is to speak to a consultant about this and say, look, yes, everything I have, this is what I've done in the last 5 years. This is what I've done in the last 10 years. And we have a system of capturing all of that information in a pre-assessment form. So we capture all of that and we do a thorough review and analysis, which is the biggest missing piece that people do not focus on when they are trying to get onto this pathway. That is the number one mistake people make, and that's what costs them a lot. It costs them time, it costs them stress, it costs them a lot of money. So for me if you were starting and you are on a different pathway and you want to reposition yourself, it is you want to say, this is everything I have done. Does it match? If it doesn't match, then how can I actually position myself? Which is why I appreciate why week one talked about positioning. I don't know if that answers that question, Barrister.
Definitely does. I wanted to ask also, does people, people who are who are on this call but are not currently in the UK, do they stand a chance at all, or is this just limited to people trying to, switch visas within the UK? Can people who are outside of the UK, because I know there's somebody in Ethiopia on the call, there's someone in Kenya on the call, do they stand a chance, or does this just cover for people within the UK?
People can apply for the Global Talent Endorsement from outside the country. Typically, it takes an average of 3 to 8 weeks when you put in depending on the endorsing pathways and body you apply to. So to answer that question clearly and concisely, it is not limited to people switching visa in the UK. You can apply from outside of the UK, which also then means you are carry on.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Go on.
No, which then also means that if you're outside of the UK and you're thinking of getting onto this, do you stand a chance? The answer is yes. I started with you can apply from outside the UK because so that you don't think it's only if I'm in the UK, that's when I stand a chance. No. The clear answer is if you're outside of the UK, you can apply, you can join the cohorts, you can get your profile reviewed, and you can be positioned also.
Right. So in case you're on the call and you're not within the UK, this does not limit your chances of applying. Again, everything is evidence building. As long as you can show enough evidence that you are a talent that the UK is looking for, you are good to go. And as I said, the processing time is not even something that you have to wait all that long. Within 8 weeks, some people have gotten their endorsement approval. And visa, of course, UK visa takes less than 2 weeks these days. Right. Somebody said I'm trying to get thank you for this opportunity. I studied MBA cybersecurity, but presently on my postgraduate, which will expire soon. I'm working in a care home, but I want to do the global talent. I did computer science in my first degree, and also taught for so many years in Nigeria before coming to the UK. I've also taught as a teaching assistant before I joined a care home. How can I position myself right? Again, I think this is all about positioning.
I will add to that I think you should be the first person that should be joining this course because immediately from what I'm reading, you've given much more context to it, which is a lot of materials that I believe consultants can work with to position you. So my piece of advice to you is to join the course. And again, I can see that there is a timeline because you're on a postgraduate. Again, I can see which will expire soon. And one of the mistakes that people make is think they have time, particularly if they're on a current visa. Visas have timeline. And the timeline come around pretty quicker than we anticipate. So for yourself, that would be Beatrice. I would encourage you to join the cohort. That's the next best thing I believe you can do to immediately have a full assessment. You've done a very good job of typing this, a full assessment of your profile and get it to where you want to be as quickly as you can. That would be my sincere contribution to that.
Anyone else on the call who has any other questions? If you want to unmute yourself to ask your questions, you can ask. If you have as I said, particular circumstances you want clarity on, you can also unmute yourself to ask as we round off this section this evening.
Hello, please.
We can hear you.
Yes, please. I would like to find out, is there like a payment plan for the consultation? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. No, there's no a payment plan. The consultation is a one-off fee. Um, However, for the full service charge, there a payment plan is accessible if needed by our clients. That's the short answer. The short answer is the consultation fee is a one-off fee. There is no payment plan to that.
So I do.
Hello, good evening.
Oh, I go on. Good evening.
I'm sorry, I came in late. I don't know if global talent is the only thing we've discussed today because I was with you last week and my interest is on the business that one can do that will make me to have a self sponsorship. So I don't know if we have discussed about that because I asked a question about it and in the chat.
I Okay. Good evening, and thanks for joining. So self-sponsorship is week 4. That is the
Okay,
week.
okay,
I'm trying to get the
okay.
exact dates now. So you've not missed anything on self-sponsorship. Self-sponsorship is on the. Sorry, give me a moment. Yeah, self-sponsorship is the 18th of April. And I can see that your question says what kind of business qualify for self-sponsorship. The answer is all kind of businesses qualify for self-sponsorship. All kind of
Okay.
business can qualify for self-sponsorship. But everything on self-sponsorship is on April the 18th. That's when we'll be discussing everything on self-sponsorship.
All right. It's okay.
Are there
Thank you.
any other, thank you. Are there any other questions? And while we wait, I was going to ask Olumide, if somebody was listening right now and they are unsure whether they qualify, just, top of your head, what would you say are like the 2 to 3 signs that actually shows that, you know what, with these 2 to 3 signs, oh, you can actually be a right or you can be eligible for global talent? Maybe 1 or 2 signs. I'm listening right now to you. I'm still not sure. What would you say if this one or these 2 things are, going on, then for sure you might be eligible for global talent.
Okay, cool. So that's a very curiosity-based question, which I like. I would say my number one sign is you have a BSc and you are on a postgraduate or thinking of getting onto a postgraduate course, or you have a postgraduate degree. If you fit any one of those bills, I would say immediately that's the number one sign. That's the number one sign because having a postgraduate degree um, immediately opens up so many opportunities that can be explored as long as we have the full profile. That would be the first sign. Number two is you've worked within a sector in the last 3 to 5 years and you've made impact in that sector. Again, I would say you've worked in a particular sector and you've made impact within the last 3 to 5 years that can be tracked. And this is what I've done that has affected this sector or this organization. This is what I've done outside of my work that still affects this sector organization. Immediately, you want to begin to explore this opportunity. I'll put one more there. One more there is, and this is if you want to go again above the first two I've said is, if you are in anything research, you want to begin to look into it actively. Any form, shape, form of it, you want to look into it actively. There are loads and loads of opportunity that are underexplored and are waiting to be tapped into, but people do not realize. So I'll take it again. If you have a BSc, you're on a postgrad degree, or you have a postgrad degree, even in the UK, you want to look into it. You have worked in the sector and you've made impact in that sector within the last 3 to 5 years, you want to look into this. You have a research portfolio, anything research based, you want to look into this. That'll be it.
Hello.
I
Sorry, just because of what you said now, I'm actually losing. Let me just say losing hope on this global talent thing because I felt I have 5 months to my visa. I'm on graduate visa, and before coming to the UK, I studied public health, and I am into. I studied natural medicine, and I was doing a lot. and I worked on insomnia. I was able to formulate a remedy for insomnia. And when I came here, everything I did MSc in global healthcare management, and everything is completely different from the path where I was following. And when I came here after all the studying, I found myself in a care home, and I discovered that have, all that I've invested in myself is completely different from where I am. So the struggling has been on. So, and now I have 5 months. That is why I'm not really talking about global talent, but I really have the mind to go into research. I like to discover things. I like to give solution, but my mind just tell me there's no time again. I don't know if you have anything for me anyway.
I will. Barrister, do we have the WhatsApp group and the
Yeah,
payment link there? Is that
I've,
in the chat?
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It
I will
is.
encourage you to click on those links right away. That's the first thing I will be doing immediately. I'll be clicking on those links right away. That's one. Number two is I'll ask you one question. So for your research, for what you formulated, do you have any sort of publication? Have you been able to publish any work? Do you have a patent? Anything just to show I've done this? That is not just yourself, that you've published somewhere. Conference paper, you've published in a peer-reviewed journal, maybe you have a patent, anything of sorts. Do you have anything like that?
No, I only have my projects work with me and
Okay.
in the school.
Okay. And in the school. Okay, that's fine. So because you joined late, I talked about a particular, and I would go back to it. Just hold on. I'll go back to it very briefly. I talked about, so for you that you did an MSc in global, please, if you fill in the gap for me, global health.
Global healthcare management.
Yes, that you did in global healthcare management. There are certain kinds of research-based role that you can be positioned for. And if you land those jobs, if you land any kind of this job, you don't need to put together any evidence by yourself. Everything you need to apply for your endorsement will be provided to you by your employer. And you can apply for your endorsement. And within 14 days, you would have your endorsement and you can apply for your global talent visa. And I'm going to go back again. Carry on.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly add also that sometimes, and that's the whole essence of this webinar, sometimes we underestimate what we already carry. You need somebody who understands the process to check your profile for you and tell you, you know what you have. Even though, I mean, the timeline you have is a bit tight now. I'm not even going to lie to you because we all know how getting a job in the UK can be right about now. But something I can say for sure is that joining this court, you're not just even joining based off, what do we have? It's global talent. It's about meeting people who can help your career transition properly. I was just saying it. You could get a job that could be the basis of all of this. So I wanted to just, use this to encourage people. Don't even look beyond the global talent, the old global talent application and approval and all of that. It could just be speaking to consultants who can help you properly position yourself. It might not even necessarily be to go the route of global talent. It could just be somebody who is helping you get some form of career transition, in the works. Just something in that direction. Don't say, oh, they say we should come and pay another 500, because I know some people are already maybe judging judging the whole courts and the payment and all. It's bigger than that. And yeah, I would just let Olu continue speaking around the fact that even a job application could literally get you what you want.
Okay.
Yes, so thank you for that. And I believe that is the whole essence of this. Because you don't know till you speak. And you need to speak to the right people. And you need to speak to people that have walked this path. Like she said, your timeline is pretty tight. But from what you've said to me, you're enjoying research. You've developed something towards insomnia. That is a huge, huge contribution, right? And this is your passion. I can sense it from your voice. So the key thing is you just need to channel your passion to the right channel. And one of those channels is you could look for a research-based role that caters to exactly what you have passion for. When you land this kind of role, because again, I assume you're already applying for jobs anyways. You're looking at all your options. You're looking at spinning up a business. You're looking at applying for jobs. Why not apply for the right kind of job, right? And when you get that, that opens up the opportunity for you to be able to explore this whole global talent thing, if that makes sense. So for me, that is immediately what I would say I have for you. I would encourage you to join the WhatsApp group, and I would encourage you to join the cohort.
Right.
And I would echo what Barista said. You need to be speaking to people. You don't know what you have to, you are able to lay out the profile immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I see a question in the chat. I don't know if you can see a few. I can take one or two more questions.
Yeah, two more questions, I'll say. So does the postgraduate degree have to be from a UK university? And what are the chances of getting a global talent on a postgraduate degree outside of the UK?
My answer is the postgraduate degree does not have to be from the UK university. But I would also be honest to say that if you have a UK postgraduate degree, it can be an added advantage. That's the way I will frame it then. And I will still use this example I'm currently displaying. Every time you apply to a job, let's get into job application now. Every time you apply for a job, an employer is putting out what I call a wish list. That wish list is, I want someone that has all these criteria, right? When people apply, what the employer has to work with, or the HR assistant reviewing the application has to work with, is what is within that pool of application. So if you have, going to that question now, if you have a postgraduate degree that is outside of the UK and you apply for a research-based role, and your profile appears to be the best in that particular pool, there is every probability you'll be progressed to the next phase. You'll be interviewed. There's a probability that after the interview, you may be offered the job. But the entry requirement that will be written on that particular role will be you have an MSc. And I don't think I've read any that said you must have an MSc in the UK. I don't think they do things like that. And I may be wrong. Maybe I've not seen one. But particularly, and I've read thousands of job descriptions, I've not seen where they say you must have an MSc in the UK. So the answer to that is your MSc dossier or your postgraduate degree or your MBA does not have to be within the UK. I would be lying if I say, oh, if you have it in the UK, it's not extra. I would just say it gives you a tiny extra advantage, a tiny bit, which may or may not be consequential. So to answer that question, again, it doesn't have to be within the UK. Once you have your profile set, we can work with it, because that profile, that postgraduate degree, whether it's in Nigeria, whether it's in Cameroon, whether it's in any country, whether it's in, think of any country in your mind, as long as you have that postgraduate degree, you have already met the entry requirement, the baseline requirement that the employer has set. And you can apply for that particular role. And this is using the example that is right here in front of me. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, I want to believe. Right, we'll take the last question so that we can close in 4 minutes or so now. Someone says they've studied metrology and they have over 8 years in administrative and management, and they're presently in the UK working as a bakery assistant. What can they do to qualify for global talent? I believe this is also a position.
Yes. I think at this point you can carry on without me, Barista. That's the answer. The answer is you need to be speaking to a consultant. We need to be knowing what you have on the table. We need to be looking at your full profile. You've told us you've worked within the last 8 years. I'll be digging deep. What have you achieved in those 8 years that is outside of what you're doing, of what you did in your 9 to 5? Did you mentor anybody? Did you speak to anybody? Did you write any sort of blog post, article? Did you do any sort of publication? There are so many things I will be asking immediately that I cannot capture in this Zoom meeting chat right now. But I would want to, using again our pre-assessment form, understand everything about you. And then from there, it's going to come to, well, given what you have, you're not in the best positioned line to land a global talent endorsement. Then the question is going to be, what can I do? And that's where we draw out an action plan. Then you need to reposition. That would be my answer there.
Yeah. Thank you very much for honoring my call and coming to enlighten us on the global talent visa. You can drop your appreciation in the chat if you want to. If you have more questions, please join the WhatsApp group. and drop all your questions in the WhatsApp group. Somebody will be there to answer you. And I will encourage everybody. Everything we've heard today is powerful, is great, but let's be honest, this is where most people get it wrong. This is where they will stop. They will attend a section, they will feel inspired, but they won't take any action about it. And in immigration, I'm speaking as an immigration lawyer now, delay is very expensive. Wrong decisions are even more expensive. You don't want to start off a process without actually speaking to the right people, speaking to people who understand the process, speaking to people who can hold your hands and make things a lot easier. And that's why this whole court was, created for us. The consultation fee with these guys that I brought today is 1,000, but because of me, they are making it 500 today. If you decide to take this opportunity before today ends. So if you are serious about what your next step should look like, don't stop guessing, stop assuming, stop undermining your own, process, your own skills, things that you already have going for yourself. Speak to people who actually understand, people who can give you clarity, can give you strategy, can personalize your pathway for you in such a way that you can get to where you need to get to quicker. And of course, not be stuck on this 10 to 15 years visa trap that we have coming in autumn. I would say join the court so that you can get people to assess your current situation for you, identify what best pathway will be for you as far as global talent, routes are concerned, and map out a clear and actionable plan for you. And where, global talents who don't work, they can help you with job application, as with the woman we've just spoken to now. Just know that these guys will be able to help you identify what pathway will really work for you. And you won't have to do it alone or do it confused or, just not sure what you're trying to do. As I close, I would just say don't spend the next 10 to 15 years on the wrong pathway or just wallowing in, self pity or just being angered by all of the different policies that, keep happening every other, I would say, year with the UK. When you get the right strategy, that can literally change your whole immigration story in a fraction of a tiny amount of time if you are speaking to the right people. Join the WhatsApp group, even if you don't know what your next steps will be from this conversation, but you know that something is said in your heart. Join the WhatsApp group for starters. Get more clarity, ask more questions there if you are still confused about things, and then you can decide to join. The next cohort would not be until January 2027. So if this is something you are really considering, if global talent is something you are considering, if repositioning is something you are considering, if actually finding a way to position yourself properly for global talent is something you are considering, then you don't want to leave this call without joining the WhatsApp group. And I hope that at least from all that you've heard today, something has been able to stay up in you if this is a route that you've always considered. Next week, we'll meet again where we'll be speaking how to move from being a care worker to being a registered manager. People have done it under 2 years. People have done it under 1 year even. If working in the care is something you already enjoy, I'm just saying come next week and come and learn how you can move from being a care worker to being part of the management, because being on my community means you have to keep upskilling, you have to keep being a better version of your yesterday. You cannot be stuck, where you are now. You need to become better. I'll see you again next week. I just wanted to use this opportunity to thank you, Olumide, for coming, and the
Thank you for having
social
me.
group. Thank you so much for coming today. And if you have any other questions, you can drop in the, like I said, join the WhatsApp group and drop your questions there. If you're on my community, you can message me privately. If you have anything you still need clarity about before making a decision, you can speak to me. But just know that by 11:59 today, these prices will go back to their regular, charges. Thank you, everyone. As we close, if you do have anything to say, please, this might be a good time to say it just before we end. And thank you everyone who is thanking us in the chat also. We really appreciate. The payment link is still on the chat if you want to join the court. If you want to join the WhatsApp group and still ask further questions for clarity, please do so now. Thanks for joining, and I'll see everyone next week, Saturday. Same time, same link. Let's talk how to move from being a carer to a registered manager. Thank you, Limide. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank
and thank you
you.
for joining. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining.